locally grown. Today we are sitting down with Melissa from Hats of Hope. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out and making the drive. Tell everyone a little bit about you first and foremost. So who you are, what you're about.
Yeah, so my name is Melissa. What I'm about is first off, a mom. Second off, I'm a cancer mom, which brought about Hats of Hope. And
Sure.
now I'm a nonprofit founder and wear so many hats.
You do wear so many hats. Yeah, you do.
Super fun.
Yeah.
We actually started our nonprofit during the midst of the pandemic when our son was going through his battle with brain cancer. So,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so not an expected thing, not anything you were trying to obviously get into.
No.
It was just it came to you.
It
huh?
came to us.
Yeah.
Growing up, I always worked in nonprofits with my parents or volunteered.
Really?
Or, like super active. So it's not a world that I'm new to.
Sure, so you
But-
already had a good hand in it and an
Yeah.
understanding of it.
Right.
So you probably, when everything changed in your world, because what year did that happen?
2020.
2020. Wow. And
Summer of
so,
2020.
and how is everything with that now?
So far, so good.
Good.
He's done with chemo.
Amen.
It's been
Gosh.
a little over a year, and we do every 6-month scan now.
Wow.
So
And so it started this whole agenda of you, because like, I guess there was a need that maybe you saw.
there was. So we were all so closed off for so long, and going to the hospital, I was seeing families that needed gift cards, and families that needed groceries, and parents were quitting their jobs, and I was actually a teacher at the time.
Really?
Teaching career tech and trying to take care of a child with
Yeah.
cancer, and found myself too going, I need a lot of time off work, and how do these parents do this?
Right.
And it just kind of like sparked, and I was
Yeah.
like, well, how can we help? And my son said the same thing. He's like, Mom, so many people have given to me. What can I do for them?
Right.
And he loved hats. And I can remember we're driving down like 77 on our way home, and he's like, so can I collect hats? And I'm like,
This
I
kid,
think
this
that's a
kid,
good
are you
idea.
kidding?
Yeah.
This kid, that's amazing. How old was he at that time?
10.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So he's like, can we collect hats? And you're like,
Yeah.
let's do it.
And I found Jordan Miller News on Facebook, and I messaged him and I said, hey, me and my son have this crazy idea that we're going to collect hats for cancer patients, and can you help? And he posted it on Facebook.
It wasn't so crazy after all.
It wasn't so crazy after all when people were showing up at my doorstep
Giving
dropping
you
off
hats. Yeah.
boxes.
Yeah.
I can remember one truck pulling up, and he's like knocking on my door, and he's like, hey, I have hats for you. I'm like, okay, you can just like leave them here. And he goes, oh, I don't think they're gonna fit on your porch.
Are you kidding? Wow. So it was like all of a sudden you were just blessed
Yeah.
with just nothing but help from the community and help
Yeah.
from everybody.
Different states.
Really?
Yeah, all over Ohio.
Wow.
Yeah. It's
So
crazy.
so then in that it became a nonprofit. That like you just started. When did you know I got to change this to an actual? I got to actually make this an organization now. I got to get behind, this is bigger than I thought.
This is bigger and better and anything I ever imagined.
Yeah.
And probably when all the hats started coming in, like 5,000 hats.
Oh my
started coming in.
gosh.
And I had like parents of children reaching out to me and
Wow.
individuals in the community saying, I have a family member that has cancer. Is there any way you can help us?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I can start off with giving you a hat.
It's the smallest thing I
It's
can
the
do.
smallest thing
and
I can do
but
right
at the same
now.
time, the largest gesture I can give
Because,
is
and it
because
was just something, comforting
Sure.
because, they're losing their hair throughout the
Mhm.
chemo process, and it's like, it's a, like, token of warmth, I guess, for
absolutely
them, and comfort.
and comfort because it's like somebody is saying, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here for you. I give a dang about you.
Right.
So that's really awesome. That really is, and something small can really go a long way with somebody. So it sounds like that's as basic as it sounds. Is giving somebody a
It
hat.
started so
Your
small.
hats of hope is absolutely
Yeah,
what it
hats
is
of
because
hope, yeah.
it does give them hope too. So that's really awesome. So like, what an initiative! What an amazing thing. So you had obviously, it probably took you by storm. You got 5,000 hats. So then, what did you do? when it came to like giving them out? Like, how did you know where you're going to go, who you're going to give them to?
I honestly, because I work in the medical field,
Okay.
I just started contacting people.
Yeah.
People that I used to work with, people that I know, like, okay, what can I do? Can I send an email? Where are how can I get them to as many people as I can
Right.
and help as many as we can, but in a short amount of time.
Right, and so who are you like what hospitals is there particular ones you're associated with, or?
So we try and get to all of them.
Absolutely.
We have done a big drop-off at Altman Cancer Center. We've done several drop-offs, obviously at Akron Children's, but we're super partial to them because that's where treatment was.
Sure.
And it was just super convenient.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've sent them as far as Alabama,
Wow.
Texas, I'm trying to think where else. Just all over. Honestly, Florida.
Yeah, so it's definitely, it's reached out. You are definitely a force now.
Like,
it's an active thing.
Yeah. We get messages and they're like, will you send to such and such state? And I'm like, I mean, sure, absolutely.
I have no boundary on
I have
it.
no boundary on it. Like,
Yeah,
why can't
absolutely.
we?
And why can't we? Because cancer happens to everybody, everywhere. Not
Right.
that it happens to everybody, but it's one of those things we can't control.
Mhm.
It comes into people's homes unexpectedly, and everyone's going through it. You know, and not just you, not just your son,
No,
your
it
whole
is
family.
the whole family.
So it's definitely one of those things that I can relate to. I know a lot of people can relate to. It's one of those things that just tears it. And
Right.
so if you can help anybody, even with a hat or no,
And
even-
now it's like
oh.
super cool that I can be like, well, I can give you a hat and I can do something else.
Yes,
So
and that's why you're here
super fun for us.
today, you
Yeah.
know, and spreading the message and kind of like, because, you know, obviously you reached out to us, we definitely want to have a hand in all the things you're doing,
Yeah.
because, and I've followed you on Instagram for a while, so I've
Like,
seen
I
this-
make videos, I do,
yeah,
like,
so
everything.
I was like, she's good, she's a good person, I'm down with her, you know, but, so I guess you stopped, well, obviously then COVID happened, right, and you stopped taking hats for a little bit. Why'd you stop taking hats for a little bit? Was it just the hospitals?
So for a little bit there, we were noticing, one, we had so many hats that
Okay.
they were like overtaking my house.
Yeah.
And two, we were having to drop the hats off at the hospitals, and then they were having to quarantine the hats. So we were able to do a huge drop off, but then they would have to like sit in a room for so long,
Yeah.
and then they could disperse them.
Right.
So now, like, we're slowly
Getting back into that.
We're allowed to like
So-
drop more off now, so
Yeah.
it's super fun.
That's awesome that you slowed down for a tiny bit, but not even, you weren't even slow when
We
you were
were
doing it.
really slow.
Yeah, you were like, I have 5,000.
Yeah.
What can I?
What can I do? Like, I would love to just take a trip to every children's hospital in Ohio,
Yeah.
like Cleveland Clinic and Nationwide,
Yes.
and just because now you can start to visit
Yeah.
on the floors again.
Right.
Which, you know, the families appreciate that. so
Oh my
much.
gosh.
Like, I hear stories of families that started going through their cancer journey before we did, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we could go sit in everybody else's rooms and like hang out, and our kids are really close to each
Yeah.
other." And I'm like, "Oh, I felt so isolated."
Because you couldn't do
Yeah,
that.
I couldn't do
COVID
it. So I was
changed
meeting
that.
people
Yeah.
online and talking to them,
Yeah.
but like, I didn't get as close to some of the family
No,
members
you're
that I-
right.
And so like, this was another way of me giving back to the community, for one, because we
Right.
focus a lot on local families, because you don't realize how many
Of your neighbors need it. Yeah, no, I agree. And your community is what's making up your livelihood, your
Right.
everything,
Yeah.
your surroundings, what, you know, affects all of this. And that's part of our initiative too. It's
Right.
like, you know, we realize that the community it's bigger than us.
Absolutely.
It's bigger than us, right? And it starts with your neighbor. It starts with the person next door and what they're going through too. And, you know, I think ultimately what we want to do is we want to reach out and we want to, you know, give a helping hand to whoever we can. So I think that's a really admirable thing. And I hope you're proud of your work. Are you proud of your work?
I am.
She better be proud of her work.
I like-
She better be proud of her work.
I don't like to brag on myself. but
No,
I'm
you should be
super
very proud. No, it's something you should be like hardcore.
Everybody's like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, I work full time and I run a nonprofit." No,
It's not that impressive.
Not
I
even
it's not even a big deal. No, you should be very proud of yourself. That's something to be really, just like, and I'm sure it's almost like humbling too.
It is.
To know when you see these families and you go through all this stuff, you're like, just wow, I'm just one person and I'm making a difference. But but it's bigger than me. It's always bigger than you. You know, and so one person does make a difference, and I think that's very important. So I'm impressed. Interview over. Just kidding. No, just kidding. Well, so okay, and I guess the other thing I was curious about too is so because you live in Worcester now, and I think you were telling us a little bit. Did you grow up in Maslin?
Grew up in Maslin. I'm a tiger.
She's a tiger.
Once a tiger.
She's an Odie gal.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
And so you have a lot of family here, and so even though you're based out of Worcester, you're doing a lot of stuff all over. So you really
We do a lot in Stark County. Like even
Do
though
you?
we're Wayne County, like we started in Stark County,
Right.
so like everybody that we know is here. So when I say Hats of Hope in Wayne County, even though like we're known, people are like, "What are you?" And then
And you're like, well,
let me tell you. And then they hear about me, they're like, "Oh, you were that girl with her boy on the news." And I was like, "Yes, that was me. That's me, the crazy one who was collecting all my
you're like, yes, and it's gone really well. And it's helped everybody.
It's
Yeah.
going really well and helping
Yeah.
so many.
That's
so.
amazing. That really is. And so when you're not working and you're not doing Hats of Hope, what are you doing? Do you have any free
taxi to
time?
my son.
A taxi to my son. That's
So if
fair.
you guys have a taxi sign laying around, I can just plop it on top.
Okay,
of
we'll
it.
find you one. We'll find you one. That's awesome. Well, that's great. And I always ask anybody that sits down with us, like if there's any way that we can see helpful or have help in the future. So, because obviously your initiative's a little bit changed. What are you looking for now for help? Like, what can if somebody watches this, what can they do to help? How can they get in touch with you, or
I
what
would
do
just
they do?
say contact us on Instagram, Facebook, email. Right now we have like a little online like Gallabit thing going on to help raise money so we can get grocery cards for families, or do a little meal night for them,
Yeah.
or like what have you. So just any type of need. A lot of families, they're scared to say it, I think,
Sure.
because I know I was at certain points in time. They can't afford their bills.
Sure.
They
There's
can't
a
afford
lot.
their car payments. They can't afford their house payments. So there's actually, initiatives that will raise so much money that they're like, hey, we're doing well. Let us help you.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, that's pretty great. And what can they search you as? Just Hats of Hope?
yeah, Hats of Hope Ohio on Instagram and Facebook.
Perfect.
And then our email address is hatsofhopeohio@gmail. So
Awesome. And any final plug or anything, or do you feel comfortable with that? I think we've covered a lot of stuff. Well, thank you so much for coming to see us. I know this is just a lot of information and a lot of, it's very fun. And you got to hang out with these cool
yeah,
plants.
I love it.
Fern and Fran.
There you go. You guys should. I know you TikTok.
We TikTok now.
That's your next TikTok.
Fern and Fran.
Fran.
And I'm just like, all right, well, thank you very much, Melissa. I appreciate it. All right. Give you a high five and one of those. Great. Cool. Awesome.